This is Max Headroom, and what you're about to witness is one of the most sinister-sounding intros to a trailer to one of the greatest epics ever produced in the history of television. And there's more, because you are going to see it as well.
Yes, it.
Yes, it. Yes, namely... Here I stand. So!
Sit back.
Relax. And enjoy my film.
Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Got money, I'll do anything for you. Got money, just tell me what you want me to. Got money, nail me up against the wall. Got money, don't want everything, he wants it all. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me.
So in summary, the compiled meaning and chain of events that unfolded is this. The art of the Sin Eater was a division of guardian angels that were sent to earth with my angelic form Lucifer long ago before Noah's flood and the rebellion in heaven. Then Azazel was appointed to his position of dominion over the spiritual transcendence of man's spirit to ensure upon death that they crossed over to the place prepared for man when they died. the shepherd of lost souls. This division became corrupted around the time of Egypt as the temple priests took up the illusion of the gods to the people and maintained this position and slowly corrupted the path for the dead to travel to their resting place that accumulated to the belief that a person's wealth attained in life can earn your comfort in their afterlife, giving way to being buried with treasures of gold and precious gemstones along with the Egyptian culture's practice involving the dead. This spiritual imbalance and injustice eventually caused the necessity of the concept of the Messiah, first designed by the innocent and oppressed people but was then taken by the religious scribes and reappropriated to become their own personal savior, from the lies and deceit that they had manipulated the people for 100 or so years with. Then the true Messiah came to be born upon the earth, and as much as the temple scribes tried to prevent or control the events that brought about his birth, it still happened. Upset they failed in this, the priests went to Herod with their problem and asked something be done about this prophesied child. So the hunt for the children across the lands of Egypt came, and they destroyed every parchment of information involving this issue and killed every child born under the time foretold in prophecy, which was the children born under the alignment with the Star of Bethlehem. Failing in this again, the scribes then hunted down a child they think may have been one named, and since Mary and Joseph had fled Nazareth to find help with a safe place to bear the child because of Mary's conception out of wedlock and disbelieving the Immaculate Conception as lies of a harlot, the people refused to help them with the child because of Abrahamic laws against it, which led to the manger birth and an unclear birth date, leaving the scribes to be unsure if he was or wasn't the child they were looking for. Because of Joseph's birthright to the line of the Pharaoh, they could not openly conspire against him, so they receded into secretly watching the child grow up and eventually leading him towards the scenario that led to his crucifixion, shrouding his death records with the charges that he took the guilt for by his brother's Jewish traditional movement he was involved with that formed Judaism. With this act of being executed for his brother's crimes in order to spare his life was the act of the innocent lamb sacrificed upon the altar of the world, but it gave the priests the confusion they needed to bury the truth of him and his identity. This is the part where the feelings of betrayal sets in, not from Judas but from every apostle who sat at that Last Supper. Jesus knew that every one of those men who called him friend most of his life had their own agenda of building a religion from the events to follow after his death, and none of them except 3 apostles and Mary of Magdalene had any intention of trying to save him from this fate, so it would seem. I also have conflicting memories, images of how time and again the discussion of his envisioned death came up, and they would beg him to let them save him, where Jesus would tell them no, they mustn't interfere, for it is the will of his Father that this would come to pass. Now unknown to them at the time, there was another chain of events unfolding. The discovery of the disease of leprosy was being associated to the practice of sacrificial offerings, and soon after Jesus' death the tradition of sacrifice for a person's sins were replaced with the death of the Messiah, using his death, his self-sacrifice for the sake of his brother, and replacing the need for sacrificial offerings with his heroic sacrifice. Unknown to the people that God had planned for this unfortunate event and replaced Azazel's position and anointing his son as the head of this heavenly division, as was the purpose and reason behind Lucifer and Errol being given the keys to their dominions for a time until the Messiah came, to whom they would release their keys to him when he came and died upon the cross. This does not mean Errol was exonerated from his exile, as he was sentenced to usher the dead back and forth until the end of the world, nor did it release me from my dominion in exile, as I was appointed to that task until the end of days, when I would be loosed for a time. Only the authority over those dominions were given to the Messiah, not the task of maintaining them, which was by what authority he had given the apostles their positions as bearers of his teachings, and given the authority to cast out unclean spirits from the living. Now comes the interesting part. How then did Jesus end up in hell, and why did Michael show up with heaven's armies demanding he be returned to them? because he was kidnapped. But by who? The one who would have the most reason to do so, Azazel. It was Azazel who possessed the woman Sister Mary in the 15th century and wrote the letter from the devil. The letter that had 3 symbols on top that were Enochian sigils that represented the entities of the Creator, Lucifer and Uriel. It was indecipherable, because the writing was encoded where the top half of the symbols written were in one language and the bottom half was written in another. Each language used were forgotten languages of lost kingdoms. Once decoded, the letter states to the ones reading it, there is not only one God but many, no matter what you try to tell them. You know this more so than any other to be true. Then the letter seems to be altered and skips to the end of the letter saying, if you do not agree with this, then I shall take the golden lamb as a sacrifice upon my mountain of bones and you shall never see him again. Then the letter ends with a peculiar form using a signature symbol that translates to the son of the archangel Lucifer as the author of the letter. Since when did Azazel consider himself to be Lucifer's son? My Rashim son's name was Mathakiel that I had with the mortal woman named Seraph. The last I remember seeing him alive was him protecting the people, trying to usher them to safety from the oncoming tidal surge, as he was a palace guard for the kingdom of Megiddo. That issue was the driving reason that began the war in heaven and why Armageddon is set to first begin in the same place where it all began, in the lands of Gog and Magog, which were once the grounds of the kingdom of Megiddo where our children were slain. That is why when God and I meet for the last time before the final conflict begins, it will be there is where we shall draw the final battle lines, in the fields of Tel Megiddo. This is something that only I and he would know the details about from what I've heard. Now we stray off topic. Who is behind Azazel? Then if Azazel was destroyed by Michael along with Samael on top of Mount Hermon with his flaming sword, the Romans seem to have warped the accounts of what happened upon Jesus' death, just as Pontius Pilate had threatened, leading history to assume that the Jewish would be blamed for his death, and the Emperor of Rome had every apostle hunted down and executed. Which leads me to believe that Caesar and the Roman Empire had been more involved with Jesus' crucifixion than the letter to Caesar from Pilate had left many to assume. Now why was the letter from Azazel sent to Lucifer, God and Uriel? Because they were the angels truly behind the Immaculate Conception. I was the original author of the concept of how to mate with the mortal women. It was the light of God's grace that passed through me and into Mary's barren womb, which is why both God and I are his angelic parents, but why Uriel was included in this I am not sure yet. Maybe it was because had eventually betrayed all of his fallen brothers and I wasn't the only one he stabbed in the back, literally. Maybe he led to Samael and Azazel's death on top of Mount Hermon, once again by Michael and his flaming sword, which should have never left the path to the gates of Eden and the angel left to guard the gates from anyone entering. So if that's true, then who is this Michael character and where did he get such a flaming sword? From the memories I have, it wasn't a flaming sword that killed me, it was the flaming sensation of red-hot fire as I was impaled from behind, after I renounced my loyalty to heaven because of God's plan to flood the earth and kill our children and ordered us, the parents, to do so. This scenario was what the children of the Nephilim were trying to summon in secrecy on top of Mount Hermon when they say that they fornicated with the mortal women and such. Secretly they sought to conjure their fallen forefather who died during that scenario and bring him back to life as the Leviathan or the Demiurge, the living shadow of antediluvian law, or also known as the Beast, Tiamat, or the true red dragon that was defeated and cast into the bottomless pit. The corrupted angelic form of Lucifer, corrupted by the magic of the Rashim in response to God's decree upon them as abominations and hunted like dogs until he finally just flooded the earth. These are not entirely derived from texts or scriptures. I only verified and brought into basic detail the chain of events that occurred. For just as I was the inertia of creation during my coma, so too was I this angelic figure of Lucifer here in this tale, or at least was until my death. So this is who you all seek to incarnate with your rituals of the cup of iniquity and seed of Cain, the ancient ritual going back to the daughter of who was born as an incarnate of that ancient fallen evil, Tiamat. all of them being incarnates that were born before their time, which is why they always failed for my time to walk the earth is now, here, in the end of days, for they are not there. True Lucifer, who was meant to be here most likely to serve a purpose in God's grand design, but also as a means in which to help you all with this age of the second great cataclysm, and so I have. Through my works here on social media I have brought the inspiration that can lead to the solutions to your greatest obstacles here, but because of my name being shamed by these attempts to bring me to earth before my time. So I ask that you put down your fears brought by those who have shamed my name with misunderstanding and look upon my works here with an open mind and an heart without conviction to see the help that the Lord has sent for you, so that you may see its truth for what it is and not what others convince you to believe, even if they manipulate me to do so. See that I have tried to do the same with God and heaven. Seeing that they constantly stand in my way as my enemy, I have sought to believe and hold fast to my faith in God's works and His wisdom in times when He seems set against me because of rumors which give way to fear and paranoia. I stand by what heaven's purpose are, reasons for being who they are assigned to be, and have faith in the purity of their purpose despite what they themselves think of me for whatever reason. They can stand in my way and dictate to me what I am and what sins I am destined to commit, but I refuse to allow that to mold me into what I am and believe my life should be about. So damn your fables and mistranslated prophecies. In the words of my Maker, I am, therefore I am. The events on earth here and these issues that have led to the anger and the fury of the red dragon to bear down upon mankind on the earth is what has led me to claim the one name that no one dares to walk down its path. For who I was has been destroyed because of these things, and I am what remains. Unraying that path I have been dragged down time and again has left it a topic that cannot be spoken of without it tearing apart the stability of the world. So you would take heed and be wise to see the truth in this and accept this as a price that is paid for your iniquity against me, and acknowledge my name and title as who I am, for it is truth made so by your own actions caused by your fears and paranoia. Besides, those who plotted and planned for me to be here should realize something that no other has yet. That when I died as the angel Lucifer, when I renounced my allegiance to heaven, my authority at that time ended as well, which is why I died. But my faith and my diligence to my duties here in this era and this life should be what is important, not the past, and here I have labored greatly to try and help you all despite all these things going on around me throughout my life. So the angel who stands before you today has risen on deeds that not the same as those back then, and I have something I did not have then also, true faith. Even against all odds, oh, still hold true to the right ways and beliefs I have learned of in this life. So thus I am Lucifer, and your own sins within your hearts have made it impossible to refute that claim. See now that I am meant to be who I am, and am not an impostor posing as such, but living a life that has been hated for it rather, and so I have been made to fit this role. But maybe I am wasting my breath. Maybe it is the wicked of this era who are the ones responsible for orchestrating such chaos across history. Maybe I am pleading to a group of guilty hearts, and that is what keeps your minds closed and your mouths silent, because of the desperation of those without faith and without virtue in their hearts. They went out and made the wrong decisions and choices, manipulating these events that lead us to blame the figures of our past while hiding the benefits of their agenda that they take for themselves in the confusion.
Well, if that hasn't got Oscar written all over it, I'll eat my invitation to the award ceremony.
What?
Let's move on to the biggie, yes? So, while you read these rules, here are some of my own rules on television behavior.
Rule 1. Don't sit right up close to the TV set so other people can't see.
It's rude. Rule 2. Don't squint at the screen. It's bad for your eyes. Rule 3. If you don't sit up close to the set and squint at the screen, you'll never read these rules.
This event was the cause behind what created the Christos angelic being to come into formation on the night of the birth of Jesus, my son. He was created in the heavens as celestial being, then born as a mortal on the same night, giving him a physical form. These are mostly leftover methods that I used that are of no more use to me, but it seems you mankind could use some help such as this. Since I no longer have any use for it, maybe you will find some use for it instead of it just cluttering up heaven. The Star of Bethlehem will be visible to the southeast for 45 minutes on the winter solstice, which is December 21st. According to the astronomer Patrick Hartigan, from Rice University's Department of Physics and Astronomy, the Star of Bethlehem is not just a star, but a unique planetary alignment. This phenomenon is an optical illusion caused by the Earth's position with respect to the Sun, as the planets will obviously never physically come together. The last time this phenomenon occurred was in 1226. In the Middle Ages, and Jupiter and Saturn are not expected to converge in the sky again until 2080. The famous Star of Bethlehem, which is typically associated with Christmas, will be seen in the sky again this December for the first time in 800 years. Everyone on Earth will be able to see Jupiter and Saturn combined to make one singular light in the night sky, which is known as the Star of Bethlehem. The location of the high proper-motion star in the night sky is determined by the right ascension, RA, and declination, December. These are equivalent to the longitude and latitude on the Earth. The right ascension is how far expressed in time, HHSS. The star is along the celestial equator. If the RA is positive, then it's eastwards. The declination is how far north or south the object is compared to the celestial equator and is expressed in degrees. For Solaris, the location is 21 hours 13 minutes 35.85 and plus 1441 21.8. Using the most recent figures given by the 2007 Hipparcos data, Solaris distance from Earth is 157.72 light-years. When you look at Solaris, you are in fact looking back in time. You are seeing how it looks years ago. Roughly, change the distance from light-years to years. That will tell you how long ago we are looking at the star. This method is based on an example of the concept of being able to look across time to find the origin and source of solid particle mass formation, or the moment of expansion, also called the Big Bang. Simply apply this method of light-year conversion to the speed of light variation that occurred about 1.5 million years after the expansion era began in order to adjust your satellite's imagery ability to view beyond the redshift of the expansion era. Otherwise the data you receive will be that of another dimensional frame and will have the same effect as us trying to view a tesseract object in a 4D frame from a 3D perspective. This will allow you to see into the moment of the actual expansion moment. Combine Einstein's theory of time dilation with the expansion as the object you want to travel to and Earth as the point of origin. Then add this concept to it and convert the light years into years to find the approximate distance in time you are looking at from its distance from Earth. Then apply that to the differential in the speed of light that has increased since the expansion era to our era of time, evidence that shows the increase in particle matter's motion through space. Expansion paradox theory. Now adjust your lens focal vector to the variables of the compiled theories and you will have the ability to view the coordinates of any point in the universe's span of existence. Past stellar bodies will be easy to pinpoint, but future stellar locations will be difficult to project and is best done by using simulation models to pinpoint the possible paths of motion and direction of the stellar object's path. There are many factors to include as possible variations, too many to list here. Another project I was tossing around was the method which I used Tesla's coil design for. The electrical arc generator. If set by a net-fashioned variety of receivers and transmitters, you can create a dome of electrical energy. This energy can be used in a buoyancy method that forms a repelling field of electromagnetic force, and this force can be used to assist craft in exiting the atmosphere of planets who suffer the electromagnetic impulse waves when their home star has extreme solar flares that disable electrical equipment by channeling the energy into lightning rod-style conduits after repelling the waves' initial force on contact, creating a dampening type effect. So as I had said, you all might not believe that Jesus ever existed, but I had planned on his creation myself, so I know.
Just repeats. Regret. Regret. Regret.
Catchy. Any idea what it means?
Dear humanity, we regret being alien bastards. We regret coming to Earth. And we most definitely regret the Corps just blew up our raggedy-ass fleet. Hoorah!
Regret is a name, Sergeant. The name of one of the Covenant's religious leaders. A prophet. He's on that carrier, and he's calling for help.
Immediate. Grid Kilo 2-3 is hot. Recommend mission abort.
Roger, Recon. It's your call, Sarge.
We're going in. Get tactical, Marines!
Master Chief, get aboard that carrier. Secure the Prophet of Regret. This is the only place on Earth the Covenant decided to land. That Prophet is going to tell us why.
Whoa.
Extract the chief and return to an amberclad.
Roger that. Status?
Sir, the Prophet is bugging out. Request permission to engage.
Negative, Commander. All Vector 2 heavies for Starside intercept.
Bam! Slip space rupture off the target's bow. It's going to jump inside the city.
There's no time, sir.
Green light. Green light to engage.
Punch it. Get us close.
Ma'am, without a destination solution...
We are not losing that ship.